You won't believe it, but the soup in this restaurant is actually made by human flesh. Even though the place is hard to find, there are always a lot of customers. This waitress is actually a spy from another shop, and her mission is to steal the boss's secret recipe. The girl, being bold and pretty, confessed that she's willing to do anything for him. So, she made her way to the boss's house. While in the bathroom, the girl took her time to freshen up and rehearse what she was going to say. But suddenly, she smelled a familiar scent. She found the room where the fragrance was coming from and walked in. The room was set up very strangely, with a kitchen made of plastic wrap. The girl noticed a 2-meter tall iron bucket, and when she opened the lid, she saw that it was indeed the soup base. It had a rich aroma, and the girl couldn't resist scooping up a bit. It was so fucking delicious. She wondered what kind of magical cooking skills were at play. But suddenly, something eerie floated up. It was actually a half-cut human hand. Something weird floated up from the soup, and it turned out to be a human hand. The girl got so scared that she fell, with sticky liquid on her hand. When she looked down, she saw bloodstains on the floor, and there was a white phone that belonged to a colleague who had just quit. Before the girl could react, the boss walked in, introducing the ingredients in the soup to her one by one. The girl kept backing up and accidentally bumped into her colleague who had already been chopped up. The girl tried to run, but all the room doors were locked, except for the one at the end of the hallway. She hurriedly hid inside and locked the door. Before she could catch her breath, she heard the boss's voice outside, continuously sharing details about making the soup. He even said that soup made by women is tastier than men. While saying this, he started turning the doorknob. The girl resisted with all her might, crying out loudly. Suddenly, it went quiet outside, and the girl thought the boss had left, but she was wrong. In the end, the girl also became an ingredient for making the soup base.
Jerry got this weird box, pitch black inside, even absorbed the flashlight. He tried tossing a pencil in, and it became an abyss. Turns out, it was a sudden gift from a friend with a letter saying, "I'm really sorry, but you must keep staring at the box every second." Suddenly, a head scared them into being the first emoji in your phone. Jerry quickly called his friend, but no answer. Meanwhile, the man stared intensely at Jerry. The wife suggested, after 3 seconds, they both turned around. This time, the handsome face grew 2 hands, as if trying to break free. Jerry couldn't sit still. He left his wife on guard and drove to his friend's house. On the way, his friend finally answered, furious with Jerry, saying only Jerry should stare at the box. His wife is in danger. Jerry quickly returned home and found it pitch black, a chair knocked over. He heard his wife's voice from the basement, so he went down and saw 4 shadowy figures, faces indistinguishable. Every time he turned, the shadows closed in. The man in the box reached for the chandelier switch.
This family eats meat every day, but the parents never go to the supermarket to buy it. The young son became suspicious about where the meat came from. So, one night while his parents were asleep, he quietly sneaked into the basement. What he saw was incredibly astonishing. It turned out that his parents would become all secretive at night, always sending him to his room to sleep early. To unravel this mystery, John first pretended to be asleep. When his father left, he quietly left his room. The sight he encountered was terrifying. He saw his parents chewing on raw meat. John was scared out of his wits. Since then, he never touched the meat on the table again. At school, John drew the horrifying scene from that night. The teacher found this cruel and dark drawing and quickly called John's mother to school the next day. However, the mother claimed she had no idea why her son would behave like that. This couple never buys meat, yet there's always countless meat at home. The husband, in fact, is a doctor. Every day, he brings bodies from the hospital back home to cook, which happened to be witnessed by their son. At dinner time, John asked mother about the source of this meat, but she only said the meat came from the fridge. When John asked again, his mother grew impatient and told him to go sleep. To uncover the truth, the next day, John went to the hospital and hid beneath a body, where he saw his father skillfully cutting the corpse. John was so frightened that he hurriedly fled. On the way, he bumped into his father again. After getting in the car, he asked his father what was in the bag, but his father angrily told him to shut up. At night, while his parents were asleep, John secretly entered the basement, where he saw a bloodied knife and several rusted iron hooks. But what was even more horrifying was a human leg suddenly appearing behind him. These parents never buy meat, but they never run out of meat. To find out where the meat comes from, their son secretly went into the basement. But he found a hanging body there, which scared him a lot, so he quickly ran back to his room. The next day, he told his teacher about it, so the teacher came to his home with him. Surprisingly, a body suddenly fell near the window, which scared them. Unfortunately, John's dad came home just then. The unlucky teacher couldn't escape and got knocked down. Later, they turned the teacher into a tasty meal. John's dad brought the cooked meat to the dining room, trying to make John eat it and accept his fate.
This girl got home and sees her mom cooking up this amazing beef stew. Turns out, the girl's dad is always on business trips. It's a rare occasion he's back, but the girl jokingly goes,
浮気してたりして
The mom's face suddenly darkens, realizing things aren't looking good. The girl quickly clarifies.
冗談だよ。
冗談ならいいけ
Then the mom asks.
ど。ねえ、パパのこと好き？
The girl says she really does.
そうよね。ママもパパのこと大好き。食べちゃいたいぐらい。
Hearing this, the girl gets a sudden creepy
気持
feeling.
ち悪いよね。
The girl asks when dad is back. The mom stays silent, just staring at the beef. Just then, the dad walks in. Turns out it was all a false alarm, and the family can finally enjoy a meal together. The man seems hungry, scoops up a big piece of beef, and praises the delicious beef. But when he's about to take a second bite, he finds a silver circle in the bowl. Oh my god, it's an earring.
The woman planned to surprise her boyfriend by jumping into the pool, but the water level was less than half a meter. Mike shouted to stop her, but Wendy slipped suddenly, hitting her head on the board and falling into the water. After a pool shoot with his team the previous night, Mike was exhausted and fell asleep in the pool. But the staff thought there was no one and opened its drain valve. When he woke up, he found himself trapped as the water level had dropped by half. At that moment, his phone began vibrating, moving slowly toward Mike. Nervously awaiting its fall, Mike noticed his dog in the distance attempting to come to his aid. Unfortunately, the dog fell into the pool, its neck caught by a rope, hanging on the pool's edge. As the phone was near the water, Mike realized the dog was suffocating and rushed to save it. He used an air mattress and lifted the dog to the shore. However, in the process, the phone slipped into the pool. Now, his girlfriend Wendy had also fallen into the water, unconscious from her injuries. This woman scooped out a piece of blue gel and placed it on her sick daughter's head. The gel slowly began to absorb the heat from the girl's body, and her temperature quickly returned to normal. It turns out this was a mutated ice insect that thrives in high temperatures. One day, a dog was urinating by the roadside. The warmth of the urine attracted the insect, and it immediately jumped into the liquid. The dog was curious and ran over, but the insect was instantly drawn to the heat on the dog's body and crawled into its mouth. The dog rolled on the ground in agony. After being parasitized by the insect, the dog started looking for the next target and ended up at Sam's place. Sam didn't like the dog, so he tried to drive it away with smoke. However, the next moment, the insect jumped into Sam's mouth. The dog, now devoid of body heat, became icy cold. During the night, Sam was about to have all his heat absorbed by the ice insect. When discovered, he had already stopped breathing, and there seemed to be something moving inside his stomach. Suddenly, a giant insect crawled out of his mouth. Immediately, the insect began to molt and grew even larger. A green big bug crawled out of the man's mouth. Everyone was terrified and retreated in fear. Suddenly, the bug flew towards Mark. Mark executed a backflip to evade it, but the bug persisted, forcing him into a continuous sequence of backflips. Eventually, the bug collided with a tree, and Mark crashed into a wall. Just as he thought he had successfully avoided the attack, it had already crawled into his pants. Everyone rushed to his aid, frantically stepping on his pants to drive the bug away. After an hour, they finally succeeded. They then fled into the house, only to discover two larger bugs inside. To make matters worse, they were exercising together. Later, the mother bug began laying eggs. In order to prevent more bugs, they jumped out to crush all the eggs. Suddenly, a baby bug sneaked into Sam's back door. Mark shouted for him to lie down, grabbed an iron rod, and successfully swatted it away. Just then, a gigantic bug suddenly appeared behind David.
It was coming for its baby.